Hey, everybody. We're back. And sooner than I thought. I actually wasn't expecting that I'd be doing a VOD today. Only like 12 hours. Okay, is it 24 hours? Wow. Okay. Well, you know what I'm saying. Within a day, less than 24 hours of the last VOD. But some stuff happened today, so here we are. Now, this could be the first somewhat, well, I was going to say this could be the first contentious VOD that I've created, but after all, and thinking about it some more, no, I guess it's just what I do. But this one might light some stuff up because this stuff is kind of going on right now. And I don't mind getting in the middle of these things, especially if I care about them, which is why I tend to get in the middle of things. But I often am not getting into things because I want to do sensational stuff. It's usually the opposite. Like, I think sensational things and whatever is clickbaiting, and that is super boring, right? Like, I do stuff in the background and work on machine programming, despite the whole world momentarily falling in love with language models and kind of losing their mind. And I just stay focused on what I think is the real stuff. And my thoughts have always been, or maybe not always, but as I get older, that when you stay kind of true to yourself and you're doing the things that matter to you, then other people will kind of see that, and you'll get fellow travelers, people that are like-minded, and they'll see that authenticity, and then it's birds of a feather thing. And so don't go chasing money, and don't go chasing fame, and don't go chasing any of that stuff, right? Like, it took me for forever to end up teaching at this place, and it should, frankly, right? I think it should be. It's you should have to work for stuff, and it was a growing process. And I like teaching at that university. I really enjoy the other faculty and students and stuff that are there. But ultimately, it just aligns with what I'm trying to do. That before this place, I was an adjunct prof at University of Pennsylvania and absolutely love Penn. But I live in NorCal, and I kind of love Northern California. No disrespect to Philly. Philly's an amazing place. If I lived in Philly, I probably would just be at Penn, right? Because I love the people at Penn. Brian Marcus is at Penn. Rajiv Allure as at Penn. Insip Lee. I mean, there's like Mayor Nayak. There's like some heavy hitting, awesome people at Penn. Anyway, the point of all of this preamble is I don't really do stuff to be sensational. I never have. That's why Nautica is like a text-based game. Like, who plays text-based games? I don't know. I do. And why is Mentor not a coding assistant? Because I don't personally think that that's one of the real problems for software engineering. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm not. I guess time will tell. I don't think I'm crazy, but I know a lot of other people think I'm crazy. And so we'll see. Let's see where we are in 10 years. Okay. Anyway, this whole preamble is to share with you that the two topics that we're going to discuss today, and mostly it's the second one that I think is going to maybe light a fire in some people, is the NATS discussion with the CNCF and Linux Foundation. Like, what the heck is going on there? And why is the community in an uproar? And I want to openly state, I don't know. I'm not an expert in this. There's many details that I have no clue about. And don't for a second listen to me as an authority on any of this stuff. But, and this is a big but, I have been working closely with the CNCF and the Linux Foundation for 3 years. Long before that, actually, if you go back to Intel days and times when I was actually working with the C++ standards committee, trying to get transactional memory in, and there's stuff with Linux. I mean, there's just like a long history of interaction with those folks in open source. So I know a little bit about them. And over the last 3 years, I know a little bit more about the CNCF, how they function, what their leadership is like, the kind of people that they are, this kind of thing. And I can only share my opinion and my views, which admittedly are anecdotal, right? As a scientist, I think it's super important for me to put that out right out of the gate. Like, this is not a generalization where I can say the CNCF is amazing and 10 million people think so. Like, I don't know. I do know what my experience has been, and I'm going to talk about that. And while we talk about these things, I want to start by saying one of the things that does really matter to me, and something that I've tried consistently throughout my career and life, is to try to be fair and logical and not emotional. In fact, I've had, I don't want to say ex-girlfriends, but I've met some potential partners that have said, I'm a robot, and they don't want to be with a robot. I am a little bit of a robot. It's not that I don't have emotions. I do, but I really try to be stoic. And when I feel the emotions taking over, I try to just do my deep breaths, pull myself together, and just be a reasonable person, very much like we were talking about before. So this in particular is important to start as a preamble for this topic, because there seems to be a flurry of commentary in the world right now about what's happening with NATS and the CNCF. And I think some of it may be fact-based, some of it might be opinion-based, and it seems like a lot is emotionally charged. And I'm going to try to give you a perspective that has almost no emotion. In fact, I might say some really good things about NATS. I might say some not great things about NATS. I might say some really good things about the CNCF and LF. And I might say some not great things about the CNC and LF. I'm just going to say sort of what I think. But I will start by saying that based on what I know of the situation, what Derek appears to be doing with NATS, and keep in mind, I don't know Derek, and I know almost nothing about NATS. But while I say I know almost nothing about NATS, I do know almost nothing, but I know more than nothing. In fact, when it comes to things related to the CNCF, I know probably a lot more than most people know. Sorry for the UI stuff. The team's working hard. They got a little ahead of themselves with these things. Yeah, again, You know it's realware when it's not perfect, because fakeware and demoware always does everything exactly right. So clearly this is real. Anyway, you can go through here and you can see that we've got every repo from incubating, and it's not just incubating. We can go to yeah, we'll just do this. We'll go to CNCF sandbox. Is it sandbox? I think it's sandbox. Merrily mentor.ai. I don't know why that's not, but it's sandbox. Okay, come on, mouse. My mouse sometimes decides to flicker itself out. It's a super good mouse, by the way. Oh, sandboxed? Am I typing this the wrong way? Oh, it's a dash. Okay. Clearly okay, do you know? You know what it is now? We're gonna leave all this in. CNCF dash incubating dot Merrily mentor. Okay. So maybe it was sandbox. Let's try that. Oh, look at that. We're going to leave all those failures in just as demonstration, right? As we do. Okay, so this is going to think about sandbox stuff. Know a little bit about CNCF sandbox. Mm-hmm. I know a little bit. And also graduated. So there you go. We've got, let's put these in order. We've got sandbox, we've got incubating, and we've got, there we go. Sandbox, incubating, graduated. Is graduated. Yeah, I don't know how they. So the new way, just to explain how this happened, we mostly, my team, the new way that we load in the repos is there's an automatic detection to let me defend my position before I go and lay into this topic. Feel free to make fun of me in the comments. The new way is it automatically clips essentially out this image when it goes to the repo. But previously, we had an employee who did some nice things and went the extra mile to go through and individually look for these images and generate them one at a time and then loaded them in. And so what the team usually works with, I promise I'm going to get back to point. If you go to summaries, you'll notice that summaries basically has all of these guys, which is basically one of the primary sites that we work on. I mean, Mentor runs everywhere, locally, within companies, on our cloud. And so, but we usually are looking at stuff like this. Yeah, this is going to come into the conversation today for sure. So when the team's testing all this, it looks totally great, and then it doesn't over here. Okay, so anyway, we've got, to the best of my knowledge, basically all the CNCF repos. So sandbox, incubating, graduated. So while I would say that I don't know much about NATS and the CNCF, and I think that that's probably, I prefer to, what's the under commit, over deliver. I try to follow that philosophy. I I've been looking at this stuff and thinking about the CNCF space for a while. So maybe we can hear some interesting things here. By the way, but the dip at the beginning is pretty common, and it was looking like it's doing pretty good. This type of oscillation is not a big deal, but then something happens maybe around here, right around this point. Let's take a look. Yeah, look at this. So November 2021, right up here, guys. And I'm going to use the arrow keys to move forward. This is like one of my favorite features of Mentor. Is again, I'm really big into reasoning about repositories as kind of like living entities. That's the way I think about them. And so I'm like a medical doctor for the repository. In order for me to understand what's going on with the repo, I need to walk through the past and understand how things have evolved to how it got to its current state. Because a score of 651 doesn't tell me that much, because a lot of it is the trending and how long it's been around, and all of these, like this score by itself is like, I don't know, it's one data point, but it doesn't really tell me what I really want to know. Like, I think more repositories and their evolution is like the stock market, right? So you look at Apple stock today, and Apple's a pretty good company, right? They're multi-trillion-dollar company. And so people might be just buy Apple, buy Apple. It's just like, look at it, it's so good. Well, as I understand it, Apple stock recently has kind of been a little bit on the decline. And so even though it's kind of like a good company, and maybe you're thinking this is a safe bet, I don't know. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But understanding trending is super important. So trended information really matters to me, which is why we do a lot of stuff with temporal stuff. I feel like my buddy Murr, who's probably watching this, is loving this, because I know that he's, I think, waiting for the day that I slip up and share how we're building some super advanced things related to time dilation. Yeah. Okay. By the way, I really was going to talk about this Windows 11 thing first. You may notice that my taskbar is no longer at the bottom, and it is over here, which is awesome. And you might think, Goju, you're such an idiot. You spent all that time bashing on Windows 11, and all you had to do is just try to move it, and they updated the software. Oh no, they did not. That is not how I fixed it. In fact, if you go on this thread, which is how I got started, you can see I'm really ping-ponging around, but I can't help it, right? Just, you're going to have to use the fast forward button or just wait till I get back to Nats. But look, so here we go. I want to move my entire taskbar to the left. Why do people want to move it to the left? It's like all these righties. Like, I think actually the better spot is on the right for a variety of reasons. But again, I'm a lefty, so I probably see the world differently. This person is not the only one. I think most people want to put it to the left. So anyway, I want to move my entire taskbar to the left side bezel of my screen. How to do it? All right. October 10th, 2024, just a few months ago. Cool. Hi, my name is, I'm a Microsoft user. To do this, here's what you do. Okay. Now, look, I think that this person was trying to help. I foster goodwill. Unfortunately, what this person is proposing does not work for Windows 11. I think that this technique does work for Windows 10. And were they asking about Windows 11? It's kind of hard to tell. I think that this is a Windows 11 forum, but who knows? But let's go down this rabbit hole just a little bit so you can see that Goju's not crazy. I mean, look, I'm definitely crazy, but I do like try to get things to work on my own and do the due diligence before I start complaining about stuff. I really do try this. So they're mentioning all this stuff, and then this person says, in Windows 11, the taskbar has limited options when compared to Windows 10. There is currently no native method in Windows 11 to move the taskbar. It is fixed to the bottom of the screen. Bummer. That's October 10th, 2024. So that was 6 months ago. Notice, however, I've got it to the right side. We'll talk about that shortly. Okay. Sorry, did you even read my question? I want the taskbar to be vertical, aligned to the left. Okay, so yeah, I can understand. How do you move the taskbar from the bottom to the left side? Okay, some more. Okay, here we go. This is where it kind of gets. Now maybe you don't think that I'm such a grumpy person, because if I'm grumpy, woo wee, these folks are super grumpy. This is not possible. Dev team forgot to add it and is ignoring the installed base uproar on the omission. Product management is likely unaware of the issue that is likely keeping from upgrading to 11. Search taskbar 11, move here in the community and enjoy. Meanwhile, MS Dev has bleeped this up so bad, they're likely now hiding it from the product team. Okay, here we go. How amateur can they be? Thanks for putting it out clear. Woo! This should have been fixed a long time ago by Microsoft. As a result, there are website screens that are unusable. I can't go from the bottom of the subscreen and choose a submit or send button. Dude, seriously, there are some things that this actually does. So one of the things that people might have asked, because I had a similar issue, what some folks might have been wondering is, Goju, why don't you just hide the taskbar, right? So when you go down here, it just pops up and you only see it when you need to. Okay. So first of all, I don't like that because I just like it to be there, because oftentimes what I do is I look at the taskbar and then say, I'm going right here. And then I go right there and then I do that. But if it's hidden, I don't know where the stuff is. So I got to go over there first. Also, oftentimes I'm looking at stuff just to see if stuff is there. Like, do I have any email? Do I have any Slack messages? Has Steam downloaded that game? Or like, am I actually recording and I have like the actual little dot? What time is it? What's the date? All of these things are related to me just looking, not actually interacting. Okay, that's one reason. The second reason is when you hide the taskbar, and believe me, I've tried, it's really tough when you have a monitor that's below the main monitor, because when I move the mouse here, what you may not realize is I'm moving to the mouse that's below this monitor, which is where my mouse is right now. In fact, if I try to get real tricky, you can see, right? Yep, there you go. There's OBS coming from the bottom. So when I hide it, then I try to go here and I keep missing it, and it doesn't, like, I've tried. It doesn't seem to work well. Also, the big thing is I don't like it hidden. I like it there so I can see stuff. And then it doesn't resize things each time. Like, it moves stuff over and then moves it back. Like, it kind of defeats the purpose. Again, I'm not saying this is for everybody. I'm just saying, like, this is what I do. And on top of that, this is a feature that Microsoft had and Windows had for a long time. So we're going to spend a little bit more time on this so you can just understand that it's not just Goju that was having issues with this. Okay. And then we'll go back to NATs. This should have been fixed a long time ago, but Microsoft, as a result, there are website screens, blah, blah, blah. I can't go and submit this. Minimizing the screen does not help. Let us put the taskbar along the left or right sides. Woo, right side. Please, this is not rocket science. It isn't rocket science, but I can tell you, I think the reason why Microsoft disabled it is they're keen on these widgets, and the widgets pop up on the left side and the right side of the screen. I think I've disabled them. And a lot of the widgets that are coming in automatically are things like news feeds or like ads. So the reason why I think they disabled it, and by the way, the doggy is on my side here, now sleeping on my side desk. So if I get bitten by a dog because I move too much, you know why. Yeah, wonder. Hear him? This is the hollow. Can you show your face so they know that you're here? Yes, there he is. Okay, say hello. Hello. Okay, I'm sorry. Look, let's put you back. Okay, there you go. Okay, put you back. Sorry. Oh, now I messed up his pillow. There we go. Okay, there you go. All right there. All right. Okay, let's keep going. I want to play Roblox and stuff. Cool. I have the same problem. Use the taskbar vertical on the right side of Win 10. It did work on Windows 10. Surprising to have less options in a higher version. Oh, no, it's that you have it, but Microsoft is essentially taking it over for their purposes. And this is the part where, this is what I'm talking about greed, is while I really try to foster goodwill, Windows 11 has been out for how long now? A while. Microsoft can do all of these updates for Copilot and stuff immediately, right? That's there, and the recall stuff and whatever. So you know that they can do these updates, but they're not capable of making this update. It can't. I cannot believe that this is too technically challenging for their development team to figure out. I would only have to surmise then that there is another reason, and I'm aware that these widget things pop up on the side, and those things are potentially related to revenue. And when you have things related to revenue and you have corporations that somehow decide that money is the most important thing rather than like, whoops, I moved my screen there. Let me try to move it back. Rather than user experience, then I think you can start to get into some trouble. I think another good example of that might be some of the stuff that Tesla's doing with their full self-driving shenanigans. No disrespect to Elon or Tesla. That's not what I'm trying to do. What I'm talking about is moving the goalposts. That there were promises, I think, that were made to Tesla owners, and then suddenly the goalposts are changing because it's more advantageous from a revenue perspective. So similarly, in this case, it's a little bit crazy that this behavior that is so simple, that is so extremely valuable. Like I'm so delighted. This is actually a big reason why I decided to do the VOD tonight, is I wanted to show all of you that, like, oh my gosh, I figured it out. And it wasn't from using Windows. It was from using one of these helper apps that didn't exist when I was first investigating this, like in 2022, maybe. Okay, cool. Anyway, let's read a little bit more. Just for levity. This is dumb. How can you take away an option that has been part of Windows for years? I had to upgrade, and I'm still continuously going to my left side of the, why is everybody going to the left side of my screen for all my taskbar, for my taskbar, because the bottom is just not even in my eye line now, that it was so much more convenient in another spot. By the way, I'm actually having to relearn that it's on the right now. So I'm like, oh, where is it? And because it's been multiple years now. I'll get there. I'm a quick study, usually. Okay, so then they're talking about how to do this. I tried this, by the way, and I think I actually bricked my Windows 11 because you have to go in and modify the registry. So I used like reg edit, and brick the machine. Then figured out how to restore it, and I was like, I'm not doing that. Okay, here we go. Explorer patcher to alleviate this. A steaming pile of garbage that is a Windows 11 taskbar. Yeah. Please allow us to have vertical taskbars. Hey, yeah. I mean, it's all about the vertical space, guys. Damn, something, Microsoft. Here we go. This is me. I have had the taskbar vertically on the left, on the right, since Windows 95. I use Windows 10 Pro, so I am blocking the automatic upgrade to Windows 11 with group policies. I may be on Win 10 forever, and that's okay. This is actually how I was. And again, it may seem crazy, but when you think about it, it's not. This is 7% or so screen real estate that I get to use every day. And it's not just this, it's like the whole workflow process. So again, providing users functionality that benefits them, and then having them lean in and use it, and then taking that away so you can do a money grab is not great, I think. Okay, so here's an app called WinTalk. That's cool. I don't think I got WinTalk. I switched back to Windows 10 because I didn't like the layout and other things. I'm keep going now more for automatically hiding the taskbar is the only option available, given that we all use monitors designed for watching videos, blah, blah, blah. The collapse of intelligent civilization is upon us, as the only use for Microsoft Windows is now for watching video. Dual booting on a Linux or Apple operating system is the only path forward. You might not be totally wrong there, my friend. Yeah, I want to show you another. I'm going to show you another one, just so I can show you the level of craziness. This one is mind-boggling. Let's look at this. I'm going to go into display settings. All right, and here you can see how I was saying I have a monitor right below my main one. Here it is. I also have a monitor over here. Right, so I've got three monitors that are all working together. Okay, so I think we're on monitor 3. And this is my main one. Yeah. Okay, check this out. Keep in mind, this is the year 2025. This is Windows 11. If we go into this scale setting, right? And let's say, this scaling, I don't really like 150. Let's say that I like 125. Just rescale this for me, okay? Check this out. Well, the custom scale factor won't be applied until you sign out. Okay. So hold on a second. I have to sign out of my login for the operating system with all the stuff that I have open, and OBS recording, and 15 different tabs on the browser, and all of this other stuff. I have to sign out to change the scaling? Why? This is such a complex problem. You can't do a refresh and a redraw of these apps? Really? Like that would be like if you tried to change the resolution and it would say, okay, in order to change the resolution, you have to restart the machine. That would be crazy, right? So what are we doing here? Right? Like seriously? That's crazy. And sometimes because I use multiple different setups as I switch between my home office, my work office, and university office, I have different setups that have different scaling factors. And so then I have to shut everything down. And this is not a joke. This is for real. I have to shut everything down and log out to log back in just to change the scaling so I can see stuff on the screen. What is going on here? It's not great. So, this comment, I mean, Microsoft, I'm trying to give you an opportunity, truthfully, to all my friends at Microsoft, and I've got many, and I hope some of you guys are watching this. I love you guys. I think you're great, but what is going on here with Windows? I really think you need to get in front of and kind of get sorted, because if you don't start fixing these things and you make the base experience so bad, you will ultimately lose your entire customer base. And I know that you think that the majority of the money that you're making now is all in the cloud and it's all about Azure and this kind of thing. I'm telling you that if everybody is running Linux on your Azure system, it's not long for the Linux cloud, and they're going to be better in that space than you guys are, because they're going to understand Linux significantly better than Microsoft does. So this is all intertwined. It's not one or the other. It's the whole thing. Okay, so Apple gets this, Google gets this, Microsoft, you guys really got to get this. And I'm not saying this to pick on you. I'm saying this because a lot of us are in the same boat, and you may think that we're beholden to you, but we're not. There are actually alternatives. And the truth is, even some of the Merlians, I'm not going to mention names, they've switched to MacBooks, and they're working on getting the development environment over there working, or on Linux. And while we're primarily a Microsoft development company, because we love Visual Studio. By the way, check this out. Extra 8% whatever screen real estate now, and almost enough. If we push this down, we can basically have the output box, which shows us the errors in Visual Studio, in the space that was wasted before, and we get it back. So that means we probably get 4 extra lines of code. And for anybody that writes code, like, are you telling me that I don't use those extra 4 lines? I'm always using those extra 4 lines. I want to see as much code on the screen as I possibly can, right? It helps me reason about stuff. And that's why when we've got this thing, it goes all the way to the bottom. And then when we look at things in the repos that we analyze, look at this. Look at how much code we can see. We can see all the way to the bottom. That is awesome. More code, more deep thinking, right? Like, yeah, of course I want that. Yeah. Okay. So last little piece. Let me get to the point. This sucks. Why did it change? I don't like it at the bottom. Yeah, I know why it changed. By the way, for the same reason that this was not possible. And Microsoft can tell me that I'm crazy and that's not why they did it, but we know. Remember how I was saying that the back button on YouTube doesn't work? Let me give you a hint. When you hit the back button on YouTube videos and you're not a Premier member, you don't have to watch ads again. But if you hit the next button on YouTube and you don't have a Premier account, you do have to watch ads. Gee, let me think about this. So is that why there's no back button on YouTube? Because that would allow people to rewatch videos without ads? It's a thought. I don't know. I guess these things will always be a mystery to us. So moving forward, we've got Windhawk, and I just want to find the thing that I actually... Oh, wait. I think that was a good one. Oh, where'd it go? No, I just hit back once, guys. This guy looked really angry. Okay, back one. Oh, here we go. You obviously did... the internet. You obviously did not understand what he and I am asking for. Doing the taskbar is still along the bottom edge of the display. He and I want the taskbar on the left side of the screen. You have been able to do this for years and years. Now with Windows 11, we can no longer move the taskbar. It is quite maddening. Yeah, I mean, this S. Willis USA, they're right. Yeah, I mean, you're on point. That's just like, is the capital, are all the capital letters necessary? Where are you going, buddy? Maybe not, but factually, these are facts. This is like, it may seem that this person is emotional. These are facts. You could do this for years and years, and then suddenly you cannot. This is not an opinion. This is a fact. And so now this is an opinion, but I agree with this opinion. I think when you have actions can have consequences, and the action was not allowing this, and the consequence is people are upset. So maybe the moral of this story is, as you're working on software and you are... Yeah, this is... Okay. Sorry, guys. One more. This no longer works. The only alignment option, I have moved the icons on the taskbar to the left. That's not what I want. I want to unlock the taskbar. By the way, this is exactly how I used to do it. You unlock the taskbar. You grab the taskbar with the mouse. It would show you the little grabby hand. You unlock it, you grab it, and then you move it down, and it clicks, and it's like, then you lock it again, and you're done. Okay? You grab it, and you move it. And I want to move it wherever I want to, just like I can my Windows 10 machine. Not just Windows 10, my friend. Windows 9, and all the way back to Windows 2000, Windows 98, Windows 95. I mean, that is 30 years been able to do this. Seriously, what gives? I don't understand the logic over there. I use Windows literally for decades, and all of a sudden you guys know how I should be doing it better than I do. I want to please imagine the choice of vocabulary that an irate disabled veteran of the US Navy, who also spent 3 decades on one construction site or another, might use to express his opinion on this particular subject to you. That coming in clear? Question mark? Thank you. I like it. There you go. This guy's got some fire. So clearly, like, I think one of the takeaways are that, and this is the part that I think people often get lost on. These people likely love Windows. they love using Microsoft stuff. You want to know how you can tell? Think about the effort it takes to write these messages. This is passion, right? This is why they say love and hate are so close. You can't hate someone that you don't like already love. That's not how it works. If you feel nothing for someone, that is apathy. You just don't care. Okay? And so when you hate someone, it is a huge amount of passion, and it's probably because you love them, or maybe you still do. And these emotions are like right next to each other. It's sort of like it's like how they say brilliance and insanity are really close together, for sure. Right? I think I'm 99% of the time on the side of insanity, and 1% of the time I'm on the other side. But they're right next to each other. And so when you look at this and you look at all these comments, these comments are passionate. Why? Because they loved Windows. They loved it. They're all using Windows, and they wanted to use it the way they wanted to use it, and they're super excited, and they're using Windows 11, and you took something away from them that they really valued, and they want it back, right? Like none of these people are saying like, I'm done with Windows. I'm going to switch to Mac OS or Linux, or I haven't seen it. They're asking, they are begging for this feature back because it really matters to them. The time commitment to write all this stuff, like to explain exactly how it works. Like this is a really interesting way, I think, to think about these things. And I think a lot of people get this confused. This is part of the reason why when people leave comments, like I think somebody left a comment today in one of the videos saying it was like all Z's. Like I think they were trying to say, like, I'm not sure, but I think they were trying to say like, you're so boring, Goju. I'm just like sleeping. And I left it. And the reason why I left it is feedback. Comment. So yeah. And admittedly, I'm definitely, but there's a lot of people who are probably really angry right now that I'm not talking about this, and I'm talking about this. Stop talking about this. Get to the real topic, Goju. We want to hear what you have to say because we know you've got something to say. And instead, you're talking about this stupid thing. Well, this stupid thing actually matters to me. And like I said, I just do the stuff that like matters to me. And whether or not the rest of the world cares, it kind of doesn't really, yeah. I think I said in one of the earlier episodes, I often make very terrible decisions with some of the things that I do because I'm not really like money focused, and I'm not hype based, and I just do the stuff that matters. And truthfully, this matters. And what's interesting is that when you start to think about it more deeply, what I think you can start to understand is the nuance and the care that people can have with software. That the way I read this, and this is me for running Nautica for 25 years, getting messages from players, thousands of players that look like this. When I first was doing Nautica and I was a 25-year-old kid, this stuff used to just drive me nuts. And I would write back in this flaming way. Now, when I get stuff like this, where I get yelled at because Mentor doesn't do something right, and believe me, I get yelled at quite a bit. I love it. I love it. Because what it says, and I love it too when people like my students at the university say, you know, Prof G, your reading list isn't up to date. Like, where are the 2025 papers or whatever? I love it because it shows they care. It shows that they're engaged. And I make mistakes all the time, and they essentially help me figure out the stuff that I'm making mistakes on. I don't think of it as I'm being challenged anymore, and I'm embarrassed because I messed something up. I mess stuff up all the time. Like I couldn't remember what the URL is for Sandbox for 10 tries. We got there, right? But the point is that you can view this stuff like, oh, these stupid users, and they're such idiots, and they're just constantly complaining, just ignore them. Or you could see it as essentially, these are all gifts, that these people are giving you their time and they deeply care about this thing. They're giving you an opportunity to course correct and fix something, add something that they absolutely loved and you took away, I suspect largely for a money grab. And I'm not saying that lightly, just to be clear. And feel free, Microsoft, you can leave a comment and tell me that I'm wrong and tell me why you did it. I think everybody on Goju Tech Talk would like to hear. If it's not a money grab, what is it? Because I thought it was super interesting that in Windows 11, the new feature where if you bump to the right side of the screen or the left side of the screen, these widgets would pop out, and a lot of them were ads, like for Xbox or, yeah, like who owns Xbox? And some other stuff, trying to get me to use Internet Explorer and other things, or Edge. Like, what about that? So, yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. You guys tell me. So, we're going to... Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes. Yeah. Can I vote? Oh yeah. Okay. This is exactly what I was saying. Agreed. This is ridiculous. When one is working with a screen that is twice as wide as it is tall, let alone two of them. Yeah, I have three of them. Right? I mean, I'm telling you the truth because I have three of them. And they're all wider than they are tall. This one, the one that I'm on here, I can turn it this way, but then you wouldn't be able to watch the Goju videos on your TV. I mean, unless you go like this, right? If it's on your phone, you could turn it, but your TV, and believe it or not, some people watch, some Jeters are out there that watch just on their TV. Okay. Let alone two of them, it is obviously that a vertical taskbar. I want to hire this person. Hey Taylor, if you're watching this, and I know you are, we need to find out who this person is. I mean, I'm not joking. We need to contact this person and ask them if they want to help us with UI stuff. So let's dig in and find out, because the simplicity of this answer gets exactly at the heart of the problem. It is obvious that a vertical taskbar is the optimal screen management solution, as it has been in trading rooms for decades. Please tell me there is a fixed plan, a plan fixed. Yes. Let's all please give a warm welcome to the next user experience manager, engineer at Merly. It is probably going to be this person. You're exactly right. It's just logically more correct. Again, this whole fair and logical, not emotional. That's just the right way to do it. Okay. Now, I'm not going to read any more. I just want to go to find the post that actually talks about the thingamabob. Yeah, I don't use it like this, but I thought this is kind of interesting. I was actually learning some stuff by reading these. This is why I read these posts. I wasn't trying to sit around and troll and eat popcorn. I was actually learning. This is more like how I do it. And this is the post that I think I figured out about Stardock. And that is what I ended up getting. Is I went to Stardock. And the reason, there are a couple others, but I really liked Stardock. Where is Stardock? It's this one. I really like this because it seemed to be generally kind of accepted by... I get a little nervous sometimes with a lot of the vaporware and virusware, bloatware stuff that's out there. And this would be a great bloatware app. Is you could do this, and then there's actually one case where one of the other apps that they recommended, once you installed it, you couldn't uninstall it. It's not impossible. And so this is not my first rodeo. While I was excited to hear about those other apps, I was like, yeah, seeing enough trust. There's not enough belief that this is not going to destroy things internally or be a Trojan horse. Speaking of which, I think there's a couple people on GTT that are using DeepSeek, and I want to share that use DeepSeek at your own risk. I've banned its use at Merly, and that's not me doing that just carelessly. I worked in the classified sector for a decade, and I probably know a thing or two about bad actors. And I am, yeah. And there was recently I think I made a post about this on LinkedIn, which I suspect, again, a lot of the DeepSeek people don't want to hear it because they are already kind of married to it. Again, this whole just not enough of this, too much of this. I don't know. It's just dangerous. So for you Jeters, if you're using DeepSeek, I mean, you do you. I'm not trying to tell you how to live your life, but just know that you might be going down a dangerous path. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so we're done with that piece. Now let's go back to gnats. And actually, before we do that, we're gonna give the doggy a short little break here, and I'm going to refill my soda situation, and then we're going to get into gnats and the CNCF LF situation. Be back in a moment. Time to refill your popcorn. Okay. The doggy and I are back, and we're going to get into the heavy stuff now. Before I begin, I want to add a couple disclaimers so we're all on the same page, because things are probably about to get real. And for those of you that know me, know that, I can get pretty real sometimes. And I'm trying to keep things pretty kind of like on the up and up on GTT. But this is a topic that is one of those things that kind of matters to me, very much like this taskbar, being able to move it. You know, I care about the stuff that I care about, and it's usually not for sensationalization. It's because it matters. There's something bigger going on. So I want to start by saying that I have no idea where this is going to go. I'm going to try my best to be fair and logical and look at just the facts of the situation and perhaps shed a light on this in a way that other people might not be able to, because it may feel like it's biased if it comes from them, but it probably feel less biased coming from me. And I also want to say that I know almost nothing about gnats. I know basically nothing about Derek or their company. I just started to look them up and read about them. Is this? Yeah, Neil, I think, is one of their main contributors. I was just looking at, I think this is their company, Synadia Communications. So again, I know nothing. And so I'm probably not going to say anything about this because I don't know. But I do know a little bit about the startup space. And I do know a little bit about companies trying to get acquired. And I do know about different strategies that people use to up valuations that could potentially burn bridges. So I do have a little insight on that. And I also want to say that if you go to there's so much to say. If you go to the Merly website, you may notice some of our backers. And one of them is a tech company. And that tech company is in the process or just recently acquired another tech company. And that tech company, and yes, I'm not saying names on purpose, just to make this so if people really want to know, they're going to have to do a little digging, and people that just are here for the popcorn, they can not know and turn the video off when it's over, or stop caring once the video is over. This other company had this software system that they decided to change the license from a fully open source license, I think also inside of the CNCF, and then make it a commercial license. And that is their prerogative to do, as I understand it. It's not necessarily a great thing, and you're probably going to burn some goodwill by doing that. But in all fairness, I think that is their prerogative. However, it's also the prerogative of the open source community to then fork that repo at a date prior to the commercial license when it was still open, and then work just on the open source version. That is also the prerogative and the right, as I understand it, of the open source community. And I suspect there are many OSS experts that are watching this that know more about all this process than I do. So feel free to chime in and comment if I'm getting any of this wrong. Now, while that's all fine and dandy, the next step with that prior tech company is they tried to sue this other open source effort that forked that repo and worked on the open source license. This is the part where I kind of draw the line. And there's many reasons why I draw the line. The first is that, like, you were in this open source space for a long time, and these were all of your friends in some sense. And now suddenly, because you have a different business directive, you're going to like turn on all the people that were helping you, like just like that. That is a really, like, you want to, we're going to get, I have a whole list of things that are violated on my list of things that you do to become world class, that you do. These are the virtues, right? Like, I literally went through, and it's here somewhere, and was like, how many are they kind of breaking? And I'm not talking about this other company. I'm talking about what's going on with Nats. Focusing potentially solely on the material, not being responsible, building a strong network, but then burning bridges, building long-term relationships. Nope. Burning them, focusing on we, not I. Nope. Focusing on I. Don't take shortcuts. Sounds like a shortcut. Learn from others' mistakes. There was another that made this mistake, and they essentially burned all of the goodwill. And this is the part that I think, like, again, I don't actually even care. I'm just be totally honest. I don't care what Nats does. It's their thing. I think legally that they're not allowed to do what it is they're trying to do, which we'll get into in a second. I'm more sharing this because I want to help the Jeters understand that there's a reason why I have these items, and there's a certain way, I think, to conduct yourself that is going to be slow. It's going to be the slow path. It's not going to be the fast path. It's going to take time. It's going to take a lot of work. But what will happen if you follow these things is, first of all, you will be able to look at yourself in the mirror and know that you're a good human being. That's perhaps the most important piece, at least for me. I live a super complicated life. I work basically every waking hour, literally. For people that know me, like, I barely have time to exercise, and oftentimes while I'm exercising, I'm on business calls. Just ask Taylor or Paul or Urs. Uh, I'm I'm working constantly from the moment I wake up until the moment I go to sleep. I'm sharing this because it is the hard path, but I think it's the meaningful path. I think it's the path that, again, at least for me, I can look at myself in the mirror and say, I'm doing this the right way. I'm not, definitely, I'm lots of people's villain for sure, right? That's just the natural byproduct of trying to affect change. But in my heart of hearts, I can look at this and say, yep, I'm trying my best. And the truth is, I think that when you start to go down this path, this other path, and we're being intellectually honest, we know deep down when we're doing something that's not the right thing to do. We know when we're doing something that's like a money grab, Microsoft, right? Yep. Or potentially like a money grab, right? Type of thing. Or I feel like what is this? Or a money grab. And the kicker is that you may think in the moment that you have gotten away with it. You haven't, because the missionaries out there, like me and the other people that deeply care, we don't hold grudges, but we also remember. And it turns out that some of us actually are involved in pretty large ways, in ways that people that have really short-sighted views are not thinking about. And so they haven't even begun to comprehend the potential side effects, the consequences of their actions, and likely there will be. Now, if people want to do these one-offs and roll the dice and be like, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to exit stage left forever, cool. Go for it. If that's where you want to go and that's what you want to do, great. But if you have the idea that you're going to do something like maybe what's going on here, and then think that you can come back into the spotlight and everybody's going to be totally okay with it and it's going to be chummy, I think that you don't understand how trust works, is that trust and integrity take a lifetime to build, a lifetime. It's so hard. Requires so much effort. In fact, Jensen Huang talks about this, right? Which is kind of interesting that I'm bringing out Jensen Huang because, like I'm kind of, in some sense, on LF's and CNCF's side on this, mostly just because I think they're on the right side of history. They're not doing anything wrong. It's Nats and Derek that are trying to be in breach of contract, which they knowingly went into, right? But so me mentioning Jensen and NVIDIA, it's well known, I think, that Linus has, his famous FU NVIDIA. And I don't think that NVIDIA is perfect. But one of the things that I really like that Jensen once said, I want to give credit where credit's due, is he was talking about being successful with NVIDIA. And he said the key to him actually getting funded was having a good past. Just have a good past. Because having a good past will allow you the opportunity to lean on people when you need to, and you have built-in trust and respect and goodwill. That's what happens. And so it's a long road, right? Doing all these things, you're going to be slower. But the beauty is that along the way, you're going to get fellow travelers that see that you're actually good-natured, that you're a good person, that you're building long-term relationships. You're not focusing just on a quick buyout. And then when you need it, they're going to be there for you, and they're going to support you. And if you don't do this, when you get into the muck and you need help, you're going to go reach out for those helping hands. And as Jensen is saying, you're not going to have a good past. And therefore, the support that you think that you're going to get, that you haven't really thought through the long-term ramifications of this. You're just thinking about the short term, just thinking about like a quick payout, Microsoft. Then maybe you're burning so much goodwill that you can't come back from this. Right? This happens all the time. Just look at what happens with a lot of public figures is they start to think that they're infallible. They can get away with anything because they're super famous, and they start believing their inner circle that tells them like they're unstoppable. Believe me, like I have experienced a fair share of this myself. I was even, I think, mentioning in a prior podcast how I was annoyed that I was being like maybe a little bit too snarky or too fiery. I didn't like it. And some of the people that I really trust were saying, no, I think people love it. And like, you're Goju, like, go get them. And I was like, no, I don't. No, I don't want to be that guy. Right. That's not me. So even in this case, I'm trying to reel it in and not really go to town because I do have some empathy for the for people that create stuff or whatever. But therein lies, I think, the problem with open source is, and I'm about to say some really hard truths, but I'm going to say them anyway. The first thing that I want to say is that if you can build the software yourself, build it yourself. Just build it yourself. Nautica, 100% closed source. Why? This isn't arrogance. I'm just going to say the truthful thing here. I could build it myself. I didn't need the open source community to code it for me. I took the long road. I taught myself how to code. I made a bunch of mistakes. It took forever. I didn't take shortcuts, and I own all the code. So if you can do it yourself, do it yourself. If you can't do it yourself and you go down the path of open source, then know that you've made a decision. You've now decided in some ways to leverage the open source community for your benefit. Okay? And this is the part that I think Nats may be thinking that they're getting away with, or, putting this under the rug. And I'm not buying this part. Just like I didn't buy this part with that other company that we were looking at, right? You rely on open source community to write your code for you for years and years, and then suddenly it's going to be commercial license because like, oh, you own it. That's interesting. Like if you were so competent and you were so capable, and by the way, this may sound arrogant, and I don't mean for it to sound arrogant. I mean, like, let's just say the honest thing here. Why is Merle's source code entirely closed? Because we can write it ourselves. And we do. That's not arrogance. All of this, we wrote this ourselves. We use open source. We use open source that has very permissive licenses. And on top of that, we try to give back to the open source. Like, we allow open source contributors to use Mentor for free in perpetuity as long as they're working on open source projects. So there's many ways to help the open source community if you're using open source, which is what we try to do. You don't have to open source your system. There are other ways, right? It's like you could work on helping pull requests, right? Or you can do what I do, which is look at some of these pieces of code and try to help people see better ways to rewrite things. And then maybe the contributors watch those videos. Maybe they didn't know, and now they know. And so there's many ways to help open source. It doesn't have to be this binary thing that it's like, oh, if you're really an open source supporter, all of your code would be open source. Like, sure, that would be great. I have open sourced some stuff. Just Google my name and read up about some of the stuff, right? I have. And I've done it intentionally to try to help. And then again, what we're doing with Mentor. So the point is that if the argument is, oh, we open sourced it because that's the way that you help open source, I don't buy that. There are many ways to help open source, and it doesn't have to be that you open source your source code and you're some benevolent human being. There is another side that is often overlooked that I get really annoyed by with all the hype and the nonsense that happens with that other company and what's going on here is that these people, the ones that are running the companies that are trying to get out of their open source license and pull themselves out of the CNCF or start to pull a greed move where they're focusing entirely on the material, it annoys me because they are essentially getting free labor for years. That's what they're doing. That's what they're getting. And the lack of acknowledgement of that, like, again, if you could write it yourself, just write it yourself. Why is this open source to begin with? Like, I'm just using logical reasoning here. There are two massive systems that I've worked on in my life that are, things that are largely incepted from me, at least the designs. I want to credit Urs as largely the coder of Mentor as well as the entire team, but Urs is like, that dude's on another level. But I was largely involved in high-level design of things. And then with Nautica, I designed basically the whole thing and wrote basically the whole thing. I will acknowledge Dwight Winkler as that he helped with the crafting stuff. Phenomenal job. Brilliant guy. Love him. Super great. But aside from that, so those are my things. It's not open source because I didn't want it to be open source. Why? I didn't want to get into this kind of thing. That's why I didn't open source it. I knew from the get-go that I wanted it to be closed source, and that if in the future I wanted it to be open source, then I would. I would open source it later, knowing that that's an irreversible decision, because I'm of the mindset that once you commit something to open source, you have committed it to open source, and to go back on that is to not be responsible. That is to not have integrity. And what Nats appears to be doing right now, what Derek appears to be doing, again, I don't know all the details. I just know what some really prominent people in the community have told me, which is this repository, which is part of the CNCF incubating group and has been part of it for some time, now suddenly wants to be not part of the CNCF. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't. This is a one-way road. This is a one-way door. This is not a bi-directional thing. Once you go in, you have committed to this is where you will be. You can't just go back on it. Again, this is not a surprise. Anyone really that I think works in the open source community, we all know that this is the case. Again, this is why Notica is not open source. This is why Mentor is not open source. It's not a revolving door. It's one directional and it's unidirectional. And I didn't want to be at that point right now. The truth is, someday I may actually open source Notica. I've actually thought about it. I was thinking that, I want to give to the community and they can have it. But if I do that, I know that that's a permanent thing and it's done. Like with my tree container or some of the Datsa system or, various other things that we've put out there. I think the MISM system is out there in open source. There's like a whole bunch. AutoPerf is out there in open source. There's just a bunch of stuff that we've open sourced. And it's like, once we open source it, it's like, yep, okay, it's out there. It's never going to not be that. And so my knee-jerk reaction, again, and you shouldn't listen to me because I don't know all the details. I know very little about this, but my knee-jerk on this is that when you commit yourself to a community like CNCF, there's an understanding that you are now making a lifetime commitment with this piece of software that you're going to collaborate on. And the T-Boost STM library, same way. My PhD dissertation, created that thing, open sourced it, was working with the Boost community, the C++ community. Never once thought about closed sourcing that. I think it's been forked a couple times. It's out there in the wild, and that's where it is, right? Anyway, so there's generally two things that you understand when you do these open source agreements. At least this is my understanding. Again, I'm a newbie. I'm clueless. What do I know? The first, though, is that it's a one-way road. You go down this road and it's open source, it's forever open sourced. You can fiddle with licenses and stuff and whatever, but yeah. And so when you make a commitment to be part of the CNCF or Linux Foundation, that's where you are and that's what you're doing. So you better be sure, because that's it. That's you're done now. That's the only thing that you are. The second, though, is that when you make those decisions, the benefit is you now get community support. And this is the part that I think people that are doing things like this want to downplay. It's like, oh, we built this thing and we've done all this and we've done the majority of the work and all that. And that may even be the case. Absolutely. It may be that if you look at the code, in fact, I was looking at mentor summaries, and this is why I was looking up Neil Twigg, is it's saying that he's a significant contributor. And I was curious, like who he was. And it turns out that it seems that he's an employee of, I think it's Derek's company. And so, cool. Yeah, I get it. It sounds like maybe a lot of the code that was being contributed was code from their company. That might have been the case. Like, clearly you can see Derek was doing a lot. We can remove the total commits and remove Derek. And then, like, I was looking up Ivan, and I think I've got Ivan over here somewhere. Yeah, here's Ivan. And yeah, he's also part of this, right? And that's cool. That's great. So we've got Ivan, and we've got Neil, and we've got Derek, and it sounds like they're all part of this. Now, were they part of Synadia, or however you say this company's name, before they started working on the Nats project? This part I don't know, right? And truthfully, I'm way too busy to go down this rabbit hole. Maybe somebody else can do this and figure this out. But that's also a very important detail. For example, if these two gentlemen were unaware of Nats, didn't know anything about it, didn't have any involvement with this or with the stuff that Derek's doing, and they became intrigued because of the visibility that Nats got through the CNCF. I would say that the CNCF has played one of the key roles that the CNCF plays, which is building communities and getting Derek support. Again, I don't know the details, so I'm not making any claims here. It could be that Ivan and Neil were always part of Synadia, or however you say the name of it, from the get-go with Nats. And so these three guys are principally doing all the work, and they're seeing that CNCF is not doing their part. Like maybe that's what they're trying to argue. And so they just want to take it and have it be their own. But unfortunately, this is kind of not the way that it works. You have kind of made your blood oath. You have committed to this thing, and you can't just switch sides when it's convenient. It doesn't actually work this way. And to like whatever, again, this is not an emotional thing. This is a logical thing. We all kind of understand this. Like, I think that, as I understand that, this is clearly written in the like the bylaws of the CNCF and the Linux Foundation. So to try to do this, it appears that this could be something that is legally questionable. Again, I don't know all the stuff, so I'm not saying that it is illegal. I'm saying that it could be. Someone else can figure out those details. But what I can tell you is that it's well understood that when you go into this open source space and you use the open source community to help grow your system, then you are committed to remain open source in some capacity for, in perpetuity, or at least the point at which you decide to deprecate or archive the repo. Like, it's just going to stay there. And that's just the whole world of the internet is, for example, people can download my videos and hold on to them. I mean, maybe I have the rights. Like, I'm not sure. Frankly, I don't care, right? That's the whole point of this is I'm trying to share things that I know. I'm trying to help promote education. I definitely want to share Merly and Mentor because I think it's super cool and I think it can help people. And in fact, some of the people that are watching GTT are using it now, and they're using it for free, right? Like a mod. And I think maybe one of our professors coincidentally, I think in the UK. It's just coincidental because I think I saw, is it Neil? Yeah, Neil's in the UK, or it seems he is. So I want to take a moment here and just do a temperature check. I'm not saying anything bad about Derek or Neil or Ivan or any of these folks. That's not what I'm doing. For all I know, all three of these gentlemen, this entire company, they are phenomenal and they're just wonderful people. That could very well be the case. What I am saying, though, is that when you commit a project to the CNCF and LF, and you have been getting the benefit of these communities and organizations for upwards of, like, I don't know how long it's been part of the CNCF, but I can tell you that it's been open source for at least 12, 13 years. I can tell that because this is us pulling it from open source, right? This is its origin date, essentially, right? We can go right here and see this may have been the first commit of 4,000 lines. Like, by the way, isn't Mentor cool that you can see all this stuff? Like, I think it is, right? This is why we built it, is we thought people will want to see this stuff, especially with so much open source. By the way, one thing I wanted to look at, just on a total tangent, is, guys, so complete side topic. If any of the Nats folks are watching this, something happens with your code base. It looks like August 2021, things are going pretty well. But then I'm going to use the arrow keys to step forward. And so then I'm going to go back. Okay. So then your score starts going down a little bit. Yeah, in November of 2021. And then we're moving forward a little bit. Whoops. Sorry, a little bit of a delay there. Where's the one? Let's see. Right around this point. Yeah. Is this where I am? Okay. So at this point, hey, buddy. Okay, what you want to stay there? Okay. Merle's trying to figure out where he's sleeping on the desk. You can clearly tell that I'm not emotional about this because I'm literally shifting to something that is not at all part of the hot topic because I'm not like emotionally compromised at all. The short of it is, based on what I know, and again, I don't know all the details. Based on what I've heard through the rumorville, is Nats is basically trying to get out of their sort of legally binding contract with the CNCF, and I think that is it's not super great, and it feels like it's potentially intellectually dishonest that you committed to something and you've received the benefits of that for how long you've been part of the CNCF. You know what you're doing getting into it and just accept the fate, right? And if you didn't want it to be that way, don't open source your software. Do what I did. Like if you are the super coders that maybe you think that you are, and again, I mean, like if you're trying to get it out of this because you think you can do it on your own, then you should have just done it on your own to begin with, right? And it probably would take longer, but then you wouldn't be in this conundrum. You wouldn't be in this situation because you would have done it in a similar way that I did, which is why I did it this way. Like almost all of our investors and people we're talking to wanted us to open source Mentor. And I basically told them, no, we're not going to open source. And they're like, well, we're not going to invest if it's not open source. And I was like, cool, then you're not going to invest. And they're like, that's just crazy. Everybody, every startup that's doing their stuff, they all open source. No, not me, not us. Like we have spent our life writing code. And again, this is going to sound arrogant. I don't mean for it to sound arrogant. I just mean for it to sound truthful because it's data. Is Ursa and I have written millions of lines of code each in large-scale software systems. This is like walking to us. It's not. We put in our 100,000 hours, and so we can do it, right? Even if it's just me and him, we can do it. And on top of that, we have now a team of supercoders, so we can do it. And we know what supercoders look like, so we hire supercoders, like Taylor Dolezal, and Valentine and Lee and all these other people. And so, but we pay the price for it, is we have to pay them. And so that is coming out of our budget, but then we don't get into this debacle. You can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't have it both ways. You can't get essentially all this free labor and this free support and free marketing and free sponsorship and free community. And then after you get all this support and you get all this help, and then you build this thing into whatever the system is now, this 353,000 line system, and feel like you're in a good spot and you're trying to get your company acquired or whatever, and you're trying to increase the valuation and then make it close so then they can take, the acquiring company can take the IP rights of that piece of software. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. That's, no. Decisions, consequences. Actions, consequences. And I'm not emotionally compromised or engaged here. Like I said multiple times, I don't even actually care. I have no skin in this. I'm just talking about like what is the responsible and correct thing to do. it seems very clear to me that Nats is in the wrong. And to try to do this, like, again, maybe you guys can pull this off in some way, because maybe CNCF just doesn't even want to deal with the legal thing. But I can guarantee you this. Here's what I can promise you, and mostly I'm speaking directly to Derek on this, who I don't even know. But you could be this awesome guy, Derek. Really, you could. And I hope that you are. I have seen many people destroy their careers by making a single bad decision that they cannot recover from. Just takes one. Just one really bad. I mean, I feel like there's a... I don't even want to say the name. There's this browser. There's this, sorry, not a browser. There's this website company that starts with the W. And somewhere in there, there's a P that seems to be burning goodwill really fast. And I don't know that it's recoverable at this point, because I think that greed has taken over. And that one I've been following like a little bit more closely. And I am kind of stunned a little bit about how it's evolved. It's kind of shocking to me that people are so focused like on the short term that they're not understanding the ramifications, the long-term ramifications of these decisions. And so, Derek, buddy, don't know you, and really trying to foster goodwill here. But if this somehow goes through, and maybe it does, and you end up making enemies with all of the CNCF and LF in the process, even if these people, who I know many of them personally, and they're great people, they're really good people, even if they don't hold grudges, they, just like me, I don't hold grudges, they likely are still not going to forget what was done to them. And these are people that run the community, that whether you realize it or not, you may be beholden to them long term. They may have direct or indirect influence over the future of your career, how successful that is or how unsuccessful that is. And so if you plan to continue to do things in software engineering and development and whatever, especially open source, beyond whatever is going on in this current moment, like whether it's an acquisition or whatever, you may want to very seriously rethink this, because this is one of those decisions where even if you win, you have lost, my friend. And I'm not saying that because anybody's paying me. I'm saying this because I genuinely am just trying to help. And maybe there's enough time to undo this, to walk this back and get yourself kind of out of this conundrum. I don't know. So whatever the answer is, you do you. That's just my objective third party, I don't know what the hell's going on advice. And I will say I've worked with the CNCF for 3 years, and Taylor Dolezal works at Merly now. Chris Anachek is amazing. Jiffy over there, Jeff Sika is superstar. They're just great people, just in general. I really like them. And CNCF's not perfect. LF's not perfect. Nobody's perfect, right? But these guys, I think, really try. I think that they really care. And it's unfortunate to see things like this happen, especially with stuff that was just happening last year. And again, this one, as far as the commercial license, that's totally fine. You do the commercial license. So I understand it. You can do this, right? The tricky part is the lawsuit, trying to sue OT. Claiming that they're taking some of the code or something of that nature. Like, does it really need to go to that level? I mean, couldn't it be just a conversation and stuff? And it's like, I don't know, serving people lawsuits, I think, it's not great, and people are paying attention, right? You may think, for example, that you're the king and you're on the throne, and like these little open source folks that are doing open tofu, they don't stand a chance against you. But then you realize that they have really big and powerful friends. And I'm not talking about me, right? I'm a nobody, right? I don't matter. I'm talking about like the company that just acquired you guys, and their whole big belief in open source and how that all is going to pan out, right? They know what's going on, right? That they're aware, and so you may think that it's helping you, but again, if you look at who's funded us, I work with a lot of the folks that run that company, and they're very intelligent people, and they have a really good sense of things that are going on in the world, and they can see these things. And so just follow Jensen's advice. It's actually pretty simple. Just have a good past. Just have a good past. It's not that hard to just do the right thing. Anyway, I'm sort of done talking about that. And feel free to leave nasty comments and stuff in the feedback. That's fine. I'll try to keep those up as long as they stay on the up and up. No threatening. And by the way, just to be clear, for all the cheaters, I'm going to be super clear about this. For any of the cheaters that are watching this, I absolutely do not want you to contact Derek or anyone here and troll them or harass them. I want to be super clear. Do not do this. This would be the antithesis of what Goju TikTok stands for. Please do not do this. Okay. The reason I'm talking about this is I want to bring to light a bad situation and share my view on it. I do not want any of you to harass these people. As I understand it, some people are already giving Derek death threats, and that is not good. That is completely unacceptable. I've had so many in my lifetime running Nautica. My players, again, love-hate relationship, largely, a lot of hate. And nobody deserves that. Even if this is potentially not great behavior, please don't harass them. Seriously. If I catch wind that anyone from GTT is going after them, I'll ban you. Not that I even know how to ban people, but I'll figure it out. Okay. So seriously, just don't do it. This is meant just to educate us so we know what's going on, and really to make us better, right? Because again, at the end of the day, I don't mean this to be dismissive. I don't really care about Nats, and Derek can do whatever the heck he wants. I hope that he does the right thing, but that's his prerogative. But I do care about you guys, and one of our core philosophies is we learn from others' mistakes. And the reason why I have this here is actually not for the Jeters. I have this for Nats, is that you could have learned from others' mistakes. There was that H company that kind of made this mistake last year. You may have misunderstood that it wasn't a mistake because that company ended up getting acquired for, I don't remember the number, 5.6 billion, something along those lines. And so maybe you are potentially misreading the situation, thinking, oh, well, if they did it and look how it worked out for them, we could do it and it's going to work out the same way for us. You may not know a lot of the internal details of the ramifications. And so it's not actually working out necessarily as well as one might imagine. We can just leave it at that. Okay, so Jeters, I think that we got this. Yeah, one thing to mention about the Nats code, I was actually curious about it because I was seeing this increase in issues, right? And I don't know what happened, but I'd actually be just kind of curious if anyone knew what happened right around August of 2021. That this jump in code is probably like a new library or something. And then they were adding to stuff, but then they removed it, right? And that will cause these types of things, sure. But then there's this somewhat steady decline. So at this point in August of 2021, the current mentor score is 880. This is a really good score. This is like a really good score. I mean, good job, guys. But then the current score, it's dropped over, 200 and about 230 points. And I started to look at some of these just to be clear. And a lot of these aren't like super bad, at least not what I saw. But some of these are like this looks like it's a copy pasted thing. I was looking at like this one. It's actually kind of interesting because this is more for the Jeters at this point. I was looking at this earlier. This is like our range thing. Like we were working on the range. It's funny because we were looking at other code that was doing something similar. It's like, just code the range, like is in range. Because that's what this appears to be doing. Port start is greater than or equal to the prohibited port first, and the port start is less than or equal to prohibited port last. It's a range. Or the port start plus number of servers minus 1 is greater than or equal to prohibited port first, and this blah blah. So these are both ranges. At least that's what it appears to me. And so, and like these calculations are identical. So port start plus num servers minus 1, just have that be a const. And then you just say is range, is within range port start, beginning, end, is within range this thing, beginning, end. And then for probably all the other code that's doing is ranges, you just do this. But truthfully, this is not a big deal. I mean, it's like a minor thing. I will say, and this is where I want to try to show my objectivity and that I really do try to foster goodwill. Well, this function is not super great. I was looking at this code, and I have to say that it's not bad. I mean, there are some things that I would do probably to improve some stuff, but I was looking at like one. I really like that they've got these small helper functions that indicates pretty goodness. This is an example though of, again, we talked about the 80 character line, and so again, this is why it's kind of so painful. Is if I have to scroll, and I do have this bigger screen, right? But in order to get this whole line, I've got to go I've got to go over here that far. I'll scroll up there. Now we can get it. So this just, well, yes, we can do this. I mean, we should just do minor things to make the code easier to read. That's my guidance. That aside, I was looking at this code, and while I would make some minor changes, sorry, bud. Like, I'd probably add a little bit more white space for separation of ideas, like in these functions. I'd probably elide away some of these strings. I guess this is in this test code, but that's what I was doing. Yeah, let me show you something else. Let's pivot. I think I noticed that was in the test code. So I went over to the files, and then I sorted it by lines of code. So Mentor can do all this super cool stuff. And I wanted to look at the biggest file that was not test code. And I think I got to this one, stream. Yeah. Okay, so this stream file, it's 6.6 thousand lines of code, 802 expressions. It's got some notables. It's got 13 anomalies. This seems like a good file to look at. So this will give you a sense of like what their largest source file looks like. Yeah, this is exactly the file I was looking at before. And so here you can see it was an Apache license before. And I started looking at this code. So we've got some imports here. So right out of the gate, I want to say, again, I'm trying to be objective, unbiased, fair. This is good code. This is pretty readable. Like they got like a lot of comments. Yeah, I think that this is good code, at least from the beginning, right? And then we start looking at this. I was noticing, yeah, I'd probably, as we probably saw in some of the earlier episodes, I'd probably rewrite this as some sort of for loop, because this is is like a configuration thing, and you guys all saw how you can just reconstruct this. The configs can be an enum, and then you can put all them inside of an array, and then you can kind of do the right thing. And you look like you may have to have individualized behavior for some of these. So these two looks like they're essentially clones of each other. So this would be identical. And it looks like the same thing for these two right here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, these four appear to be identical. So you could have the for loop that would have this behavior inside of the template or whatever. And then it looks like this behavior is different. And this behavior is different. Now, it could be that these are very similar, but I don't know if we got Murley on the mic there, but he just gave this like major sigh. Like he's so tired of this whole GTT podcast thing. He's so fed up with it. Are you annoyed, buddy? Anyway, I was quickly looking at these, and they don't appear to be exactly identical. That this is doing this stream source array. Again, I'm not an expert in Go. I only know a tiny bit, but my pattern recognition, my lexical analyzer, my parser is telling me that these things are similar. It's just like a different type. And so maybe you could compress these. I don't know. but I might make that change. That aside, like pretty clean code, clean code. I like the tabular layout, easy to read. It's pretty well organized. This is a fairly large structure, but these things happen. Really well commented. Yeah, I mean, like, I was actually pretty impressed with some of the stuff. Like, it's pretty good. There's parts where it kind of drifts into things that I personally try to avoid with the like the deep nesting and deep nesting and stuff. But it's really not that bad. Like we've seen way worse, like some of the stuff we saw in ClickHouse and others. And yeah, some of this, like I can quickly pattern recognize that I'm pretty sure you could write this in a far more effective way. Doing it just a bunch of the never nester optimizations. This is more just refactoring and stuff. But overall, on a quick glance, this is not terrible code in my mind. Yeah, I can't remember if I saw this or not, but in seeing it now, yeah, I don't love this. I think many of you know how I feel about a lot of these massive if things. It's just usually there's a bunch of other ways to do this. And once you start seeing a lot of the, like, oh boy, woo, Nelly. Wow, we're pretty deep here, aren't we? Hold on. I'm just curious. Well, okay, this is the first. Is this the first one? This is the first level? Okay. Yeah, this is the first level. Let's go back to that. First level. Did I go past it? I probably did. Oh, here it is. Okay. This is the first level, level 1. This is level 2. This is level 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Whew. 7 levels in. Yeah, that's... Yeah, that we should probably rewrite this. That's just too much, I think, to hold in your head. But overall, like I was looking at this code and not feeling too like hyper. There's nothing that jumped out, especially with the anomalies and the issues. That was like, wow, this is super bad. Nothing that I saw. I also wanted to say, again, to give Nats +1 is when I sort these lines of code, look at these tests. I mean, this is a lot of test code. Like this is, I think, it appears to be very deeply tested source, which is incredible, right? So kudos to the Nats folks for getting it this far along. And I mean, this code base is not huge. It's 350,000, at least for, let me reframe, for the code bases that I tend to look at that are like these really large repos, usually on the order of millions of lines of code, like Nautica or Mentor or other large, like probably the Windows operating system or Linux. 350,000 lines of code is not a lot, especially in Go or a language that's not like a systems level language like C or C++. Because those languages tend to be far more complicated. Like Go's like I think a really interesting middle ground. Again, not an expert in Go, so don't believe everything I'm saying. But I'm learning, and I actually really like Go. It was actually the CNCF that turned me and Urs onto Go, and then we started writing Go code because of the CNCF. And we saw that it was like such a powerful language. We're like, why are we not using this? So the super efficient code, the really, really fast stuff, we still write that in C++. But the stuff that's in this intermediate space where it needs to be pretty fast, but it doesn't need to be like screaming fast, but we can write it in a way that is simpler in terms of the way that it deals with hierarchies and behaviors, but we still get the benefit of it. I can't remember, is Go managed or not? I think the answer is it is not managed. I think. Let's find out. Is Golang a managed language? I think the answer is it is not. Okay, I'm not a robot. Motorcycles. Here we go. By the way, the only reason why I kind of have to do the incognito is I just need to make sure is a managed language. Wait, what is this? With a compiler that barely does any? What? Oh, it is. Okay. Oh, but I thought that it doesn't have. Oh, sweet. Okay, I'm wrong. Interesting. So I thought. Okay. Yeah, clearly I am just a total. Like I said, don't trust me with Go. I'm going to leave this in too, by the way. Okay. Yes, Golang is considered a managed language. It offers automatic memory management through garbage collection, which handles. But I thought that there was a major advantage of Go over like other managed languages, like C# or Java. Well, I guess C#, you'd have to have the whole .NET framework. And Java, you need the Java runtime environment, I believe. So, okay, let's just read some more. It offers automatic memory management through garbage collection, which handles the allocation, deallocation of memory. But is that always the case? That's what I'm trying to figure out. So, for example, like STL, you can use the STL in C++ that basically does this, but you can also do things yourself. So, but I guess maybe. Okay, let's keep reading. Here's why Go is considered a managed language. Automatic memory management. Go's built-in garbage collector. Automatic. Hold on. We need to reframe this question. Does Golang allow for user-managed memory, non-automatic garbage collected memory? This is, I guess, what I really want to know. Yes. Okay. So this is what I was. Okay. This is why I was trying to make the point that this is complicated. Let me try to clarify. Java, I believe, is a fully garbage collected language. I believe. And what that means is that there is no sort of space that you can manage memory on your own. And so you're in. You're gonna do it the garbage collected way, whether you like it or not. But C#, I believe, allows you unsafe. Okay. Unsafe, it might just be pointers. Okay, we're gonna go down this rabbit hole in a second. When you have this unsafe space, you can start to do stuff that you couldn't do if it was a fully managed language, because the unsafe stuff allows you to like take things out of what the system thinks is managed. Like you can access the pointers directly before checking if they're valid or whatnot. And with that, in theory, you could pull things into your own memory space and then not have this stuff be garbage collected. So you could have a hybrid language that gives you the best of both worlds, but allowed you to control it. So anything that you want it to be GC, garbage collected, controlled, you just have it be. But then things that you want outside of the garbage collection, because you want it to be like more deterministic, going to function in like a soft real-time system, like Netflix, then you could do that. And you could do both at the same time, which is how I kind of use C++. And I realize many of you are saying, well, C++ doesn't have a garbage collector. Yes, I get that. But what I'm talking about is there's ways where I will have my memory allocated systems that are controlling basically all the memory or all the general memory of the system in a very particular way. And so as long as those things are used, it is acting like-ish a garbage collector, because I'll write the memory model manager myself. It's actually one of my favorite things to do, because you can do some really wacky things if you learn how to write a memory manager. It's super dangerous. You really need to know what you're doing, but if you can customize essentially the behavior of the memory manager for the domain. Then at the same time, you could have specialized one-off cases in that same app or the same system that say, well, I don't want this inside of this GC or typical memory managed way. This is a special thing that's going to have slightly different behavior. Like maybe it's going to be iterating through instances too fast, too frequently. You don't want it to be in this GC space, because it's going to kill the garbage collector, because it's going to invoke the garbage collector like way too much. So instead, you put it over here and say, no, just let this thing run up to, I don't know, like 1 billion instances. They're going to be small and they're going to come in like flux. And then when it finishes, I'll let you know, and then you'll trigger this thing. But this is out of bounds. Okay, so this is the preamble to this sort of unsafe thing. So let's look at this now. Go primarily, yes, so see, the language here is really important, because they're not saying that it does just this, right? It's this word primarily. If it's a fully managed language, it is not using the word primarily. It would say Go uses an automatic blah blah. And if you don't believe me, I haven't actually typed this before, so I don't know what it's going to say, but I think it's going to say, yes, it is automatic garbage collection, and there's no way around it, bro. Okay, here we go. Java automatically manages memory with the help. Does Java allow memory management? Java has an automatic memory deallocation as the garbage collector. Can you manually manage memory? I think you can invoke. You don't. Yeah, you can invoke the garbage collector, I think, directly, but you can't. I don't think you can build your own memory manager. Right? I think that. Yeah, can you manually free? You can invoke the garbage collector. Right? Yeah. Okay. So. Here we go. In Java, the programmer allocates memory. There is no way to deallocate. This is the key thing, right? So this is what I would consider a strict managed language, which is great. In many cases, you want things that are super strict. In fact, I think like most of the scripting language and stuff are like fully strict, and that's probably a really good thing. However, it appears that Go is not strict, right? Because of the word primary. Go primarily uses automatic garbage collection for memory. However, it provides mechanisms to influence or bypass the garbage collector. Oh, it's not a strict managed language. Okay, so I'm not trying to say that I was right, because I don't actually care, right? Let's just say that I was wrong. But this is what I was trying to get at, is that I was under the impression that I would use Go the way I kind of use C++. Because most of the C++ code that I write, as you've seen, I use STL and I write it in a way that automatically is managed. And so it basically acts like a managed language. That's how I use it. But in some cases where I want to get really, really wacky and do crazy things, I go into unsafe mode. And in C++, you don't have to say unsafe. You just say like star. You just say like create a pointer. Let's do some crazy things. I got to say, I actually like that C# and Go use the unsafe. I think that C and C++ could benefit from that because it warns people like, okay, pay attention now. If you aren't an expert, don't mess with this code because you're going to probably do bad stuff. And the way that I teach this at the university is, I think what I say is, if you want to use pointers, don't. If you really want to use pointers, and then it's like rule number 1, if you want to use pointers, don't. Rule number 2, if you really want to use pointers, see rule number 1. Right? So it's really encouraging you not to do it. Like you really shouldn't do it. But yes, there are cases. And only when you really are an expert should you get that far into the weeds. And as you become an expert, you may need to. And like, for example, in Nautica, because it needs to run like essentially quasi real time, I do get really into the weeds. And similarly in Mentor, there's certain parts where it needs to be insanely fast. And so, yeah, we get into the weeds. Cool. So this is, look, I learned something new. This is probably actually the most rewarding part of this whole this whole GTT episode. No disrespect to Windows 11 or the NAT, CNCF, and LF thing. I mean, I think that those things are important, and I don't mean to downplay the seriousness of the NAT and CNCF and LF situation. It sounds like it's not super great, and I hope it can be resolved amicably. But it's sort of not. I'm not a stakeholder in this, and it's in some ways like none of my business, I guess is a better way to put it. So, but this is my business because programming languages these are things that I think about all the time, especially as we build more machine programming systems that are trying to automate more of the synthesis of code in any language. It's really important for me to just basically understand me and Urs, and potentially Tim Matson and Taylor Dolezal to have super deep understanding of almost all languages. Yeah, that's going to be a tall order. I mean, don't need to be experts, but just need to have intuitions about things, like to just be able to look at any particular piece of code and say, yeah, generally speaking, I know what this is doing. Like I can kind of like what we were seeing with the ranges before is I don't really know Go. Like I can't even properly describe the memory management system of the language, but I can look at that other code and say, oh yeah, this is just doing a range check, or that's what I think it is. Anyway, we've been rocking out here for almost 2 hours and 15 minutes. This has been great. I'm glad that we got to talk about this fun stuff. I'm super pumped about, we actually have learned a couple things. One, we have a little bit of a sense of what's going on with NAT and CNCF. Good luck with that, everybody. Fingers crossed it gets sorted in the right way. The Windows 11 thing, as far as the taskbar, oh my gosh, I'm so glad we talked about this, because this inspired me to look this up and then read about it. And then I saw that one post and I thought, oh, it can be done, and I just don't know how to do it. And then it turns out No, it actually can't be done. But then I found our cool tool that does it. So that's great. And then last but not least, we got to learn a little bit about Go. And so I have a firmer understanding of Go than I did before. And by the way, this is, I think, a great example of small footsteps. I think this is one of the ways that you can become an expert in things is you just slowly chip away a little bit each day. And when you do that over long swaths, large swaths of time, long periods of time, I think that, yeah, really awesome things can happen. So thanks, everybody. Happy Sunday. Hope you guys have an awesome week and stay tuned for more GTT episodes.